Uncle Istvan. Crazy Uncle Istvan. Now this is a black card that is hard to build around. It has synergy with almost nothing, it has an ability that no other black card does, and is a card in which virtually all the support for it is in white. So naturally, one of my best friends asked me to build it, and I said yes, because I'm a masochist. Welcome to the Uncommon Commander. It is worth noting that Uncle Istvan is not actually a legendary creature, even though he should be, and is therefore not a legal commander. Consult with your playgroup before making him your commander to be sure that they're alright with it. Crazy old Uncle Istvan is our commander today, and he is a human creature with a 1/3 body, a casting cost of 1 generic and 3 black mana, and the ability that says prevent all damage that would be dealt to Uncle Istvan by creatures. This is an extremely rare effect in black. In fact, I was only able to find its likeness on one other creature, Gloom Surgeon, and even that one isn't exactly the same, as Gloom Surgeon only prevents combat damage to itself, not all damage dealt by creatures. I've included Gloom Surgeon in this deck as a backup to Uncle Istvan, so you've got near immortal blockers. For the same purpose, I also included Sorceress Queen. None of their abilities are an exact match to Uncle Istvan's though. They're just the closest that black has to offer. So really, Uncle Istvan is a unique card in mono black. Because of this, there aren't a lot of cards that have obvious synergy with them, which makes deck building fairly open-ended. I personally have gone with the Death Touch Matters theme, in conjunction with Pestilence style effects. Let's see what this looks like. But before I do, I'd like to mention that on the day I'm writing this script, this deck costs about $140 if you're purchasing it from TCG Player. And if you are, please consider using my affiliate link in the video description. I also have a very small Patreon where you can donate to my cause if you're enjoying the videos and want to help in their creation. Finally, if you do end up enjoying this video, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you. Like always, our early game is going to be largely about ramping. To do this, we have the Mana Rocks, Everflowing Chalice, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Prismatic Lens, Altar of the Pantheon, Bonder's Ornament, Burnished Heart, and Commander's Sphere. Our less traditional ramp is coming from the right type spell, Bubbling Muck, and from the mana doubler, Cryptghast, who also has the Extort ability. I know that Cryptghast is a $10 card, which may be more expensive than many would like, but I did include it in here because I know that my friend already owns it. And I know this because that handsome jerk has used it against me, to great effect. I did mention that we have a Death Touch theme, and these are most of our cards that bestow it. Vorpal Sword, which isn't actually out yet but will be in the Forgotten Realms set, Onyx Mage, Quietus Spike, and Death Pits of Wrath, which doesn't actually give Death Touch but makes creatures that are pinged for damage die, without the ability to be regenerated, so it's sort of like a pseudo Death Touch. Vorpal Sword also has the distinction of being one of our win condition cards, so make sure to buy a copy once it's released. If we want to capitalize on having Death Touch creatures, we need to be able to make them hit things. These are cards that let us ping creatures. Pathway Arrows, Sorcerer's Wand, Viridian Longbow, Wolf Hunter's Quiver, and Heavy Arbalest. As long as the creatures these are equipped to have Death Touch, their ping damage will be lethal to any creature that isn't indestructible. Of course, none of what I've already shown you synergizes with Uncle Istvan. Well, these next cards both ping creatures and synergize with him. These are Crypt Rats, Infected Vermin, Thrashing Wumpus, and Pestilence Demon. Each of these can be enchanted or equipped with Death Touch, and each of them can clear an entire board. Except of course for Uncle Istvan, who is immune to their damage. All this killing is great, of course, but we also need to capitalize on creatures dying. We could go for drain victories like with Blood Artist, but I decided to go a different route. We're going Theft. These are Necroskidder, Dreadslaver, Soul Collector, and Grave Betrayal. Grave Betrayal especially is nice here because, while it does cost the most by far, it's also an enchantment, and therefore is immune to our own Death Touch. It also doesn't need to ping our opponent's creatures in order to steal them. With these cards, it's going to feel real good to hit an opponent's Eldrazi for 1 damage and then get to steal it for yourself, turning their win conditions into your win conditions. Fair warning though, your friends may not feel the same. Having synergy with all of the effects previously mentioned, we do also have these utility cards. Ones that we'll want to equip to Uncle Istvan or Gloom Surgeon are Echo Circlet and Vanguard's Shield, allowing them to block an additional creature each combat. A good way of protecting your Pestilence creatures from dying to their own abilities is through the use of cards like Vampiric Embrace. As long as they're killing things, they'll also be getting powered up, scaling their toughness up in order to protect themselves. That's especially important for a card like Crypt Rats or Infected Vermin, who only have 1 toughness. And since we're talking about protecting our Pestilence creatures, let's see what else we have that can protect them. Deathtouch really disrupts most protection abilities, so we're going to use the one that it doesn't trump: Indestructible. For this we have the instants, Professor's Warning, Rush of Vitality, Unlikely Aid, and Without Weakness. We also have the enchantment, Gift of Doom. Gift of Doom doubles as a Deathtouch bestowing enchantment for our creatures. All of this deck tech has probably made it fairly clear that we're going to be demolishing our opponent's boards a lot, but what if we just can't get the pieces assembled for that on our own board? We need other ways with fewer frills to remove threats. These shall be Feed the Swarm for enchantment removal, Timoret, Chosen from Death for graveyard hate, Muck Drub to mess with someone else's removal spells, and the creature removal spells Cor Dirge, Royal Assassin, Drag to the Underworld, and Blight Breath Catoblepus? It's a weird word. We also have Choice of Damnations and Corrupt, which can either be creature removal or player removal. Of course, Choice of Damnations won't be player removal all on its own unless your friends are really terrible at math. For a guy that loves using his graveyard, I actually didn't include any reanimation in this deck. Mostly that was because I wanted this deck to just fly through its library as fast as possible, consequences be damned. Because of this, we're running a good bit of card draw. These cards are Marchesa's Decree, which isn't card draw exactly, but does give you the Monarchy, which is card draw, Harvester of Souls, and the draw spells that could kill you, from least dangerous to yourself to most dangerous to yourself. Bargwell's Bloodfast, Greed, Pain's Reward, Dread Presence, Baleful Force, Sanguimancy, Phyrexian Etchings, and Peer into the Abyss. Finally, we have our land cards. The only one I really want to talk about is Arena, so let's start with that. This land doesn't tap for mana, but instead lets a creature of yours fight an opponent's creature. If we give Uncle Istvan Deathtouch, we've got a near-immortal death machine killing our opponent's creatures once per turn. Our less exotic utility lands are Bojuka Bog, Cabal Stronghold, Myriad Landscape, Ghost Quarter, Tectonic Edge, Memorial to Folly, Mortuary Mire, and Witch's Cottage. We also have Exotic Orchard here to give us our opponent's colors. Finally, we have Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, which is here primarily because the deck can be pretty black mana hungry, and we've got a fair amount of utility lands that give colorless mana. This will ensure that they actually give black mana. Also, we've got Crypt Rats and Corrupt, which are helped by this inclusion. Still, if you want to reduce the cost of the deck, this would be the first card I'd cut. And finally, we have our basic lands, which are 26 Swamps. I built this to be more flavorful for my friend than to be a truly powerful deck. Then again, if you're giving thought to playing Uncle Istvan, you're probably not really going for power. That said, if I wanted to increase the power level without increasing the budget, I would recommend swapping out Gloom Surgeon and Sorceress Queen and adding in 2 of Boneyard Parley, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, Touch of Moonglove, or Strands of Night. I know my friend would also like me to mention Dark Depths and Thespian Stage. That combo will add about $25 to the price of the deck, but it's a pretty fun combo. If you decide to put it in, I'd recommend adding in Expedition Map to help tutor up half of it. And now we've seen 95 cards from this deck, and it's time to have the final 5 in a segment that I have named
The Final Countdown!
Today's Final Countdown is going to feature the best cards in this deck that are not our commander or a direct win condition. To start things off at number 5, we have a 2-mana enchantment aura that will give our creatures a nice kick while adding in some protection for us. That card is Eternal Thirst. The creature this card enchants has lifelink, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Our opponent's creatures will be dying a lot, and we need to make sure we don't kill ourselves with Pestilence, so putting this on either a Pestilence creature or Uncle Istvan should help a lot. Now, as we move on to number 4, I'd like to remind you of that land I talked about for a long time. No, not Urborg, the other one. Yeah, Arena. Our number 4 card is a lot like Arena, or at least in this deck it is. That card is Imp's Taunt. This instant costs 2 mana with a buyback of 3 additional mana, and it says, target creature attacks this turn if able. So we won't be having Uncle Istvan fight a creature, instead we'll have him just kill the creature in combat. And this is even better than Arena because we get to choose the creature. Bonus points if you've got Eternal Thirst on Uncle Istvan. Now our number 3 card is going to bring us all the way back to the beginning of this deck tech, when I was talking about cards that let us ping our opponent's creatures. This one is also a ping card, but this time with a bit more utility. The card is Thorn Bite Staff, and it gives a creature both a ping ability and an ability that says whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. Equipping this to Royal Assassin means machine gunning down all tapped creatures, a build-your-own Sunblast Angel. Not too bad. Of course, it also synergizes with all of our deathtouch cards as well. Now, remember our Pestilence creatures? Well, the cool part about them is that you're not paying for an ability and having all the damage happen at once. Instead, they deal 1 damage for each time they're activated. Yes, even Crypt Rats, as long as you're doing it right. This means that our number 4 card makes us invulnerable to them. This card is Urza's Armor, which says, if a source would deal damage to you, prevent 1 of that damage. So each individual ping against our health gets reduced by 1, down to 0. Now we're just like Uncle Istvan, practically immortal. And now we're on to the card that you've all been waiting for, the best card in the deck that is not our commander or a direct win condition. How do I come up with the criteria for these? Well, whatever. Our number 1 card under this arbitrary ranking system is Basilisk Caller. Not only does this card give our equipped creature Death Touch, but it also protects us by giving it lifelink. Put this on Crypt Rats, pump just 5 mana into the ability, and watch your life shoot through the roof while the entire board disappears. This isn't really a board wipe tribal deck, but I wouldn't blame your opponents for feeling like it is. Alright, you beautiful moonbeams, it's time for this show to end. Before you go, I'd like to remind you to hit the like button since you clearly did like it if you watched the whole thing. Doing this helps the YouTube algorithm direct people to my videos, and I really appreciate the heck out of that support. Now then, I've built a Cody Vociferous Codex deck, so that'll be the next video. I've found that deck to be explosive, fun, and RNG heavy. If that sounds interesting, tune into the next one. Bye!